All right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a media-dependent interface crossover. Really big word. Oh, that's terrible. Let me try that again. Media-dependent interface crossover. MDIX, right? What that is basically referring to is on certain network devices, when you have a cable plugged in this case, this is a straight through cable, right? So it's a T568A end to a T568A end, right? Straight through. Okay. When you plug those in between like devices, so switch to switch, PC to PC, the device on either end detects that it's a crossover, or detects that it's a straight through, right? Determines that the two devices are the same, and then flips the transmit and receive pins internally, right? So redirects them. That's what MDIX allows us to do. So we can basically grab whatever cable we have and make a connection between two switches, right? So long as the switch is MDIX enabled, right, we can do this. Not all devices are, all right? So bear that in mind. In general, when you have like devices connected to one another, you should really be doing a crossover cable. So a T568A end going to a T568B end, right? Ideally speaking. But because MDIX is so prevalent in switches nowadays, this has become less and less of a rule and more of a guideline. Never trust a cable. Right? If we haven't learned that already, you should. Let's take a look at one of these switches and show you how to enable and disable MDIX. So typical standard. All right, basic commands. So we're going to go to a specific interface. So I'm going to go to gig 0/1, right? And I'm going to say no MDIX auto. Normally it auto negotiates. I'm telling it not to, right? So hit enter, and what do we got? Well, oops, sorry, wrong one. Come on. Gig 01 doesn't seem to have any effect. We're cool. Still did it. I only disabled MDIX auto on one of the switches, right? Let's take a look at this one. Now note, gig 01 is plugged into gig 01 on the opposite switch, right? So 01 to 01, 02 to 02. That's how it's configured. So turning the auto detection off. Notice right away. Didn't even take a second, not even in pack and tracer. Gig 01 is now down. If we come here, boom, change state to down. As long as it's enabled on one of the devices, it works. If it's disabled on both, it doesn't, right? So fool around with that a little bit yourself, get it to play, and then come up with a solution should you have a non-MDIX device on both ends. Or keep in mind, somebody may have turned it off for some reason at some point. Never trust the cable, right? So if a port's down or an interface is down, this is a potential cause, right? Play around with a little. If you have any questions, you know where I'm at.